everybody doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, gracias. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to this video to help support the message. And before getting started, do please allow me to thank everyone that has stopped by, buy me a coffee, and extended extra love, or by leaving a comment. And that one comment, yes, I do remember you. Do excuse me. I don't know if you're aware, but I've been going through some rough times right now. I was dead 5 days, all tubed up through the inside. They had me breathing and functioning through a machine. They pulled them tubes, and I had never had that done to me before. Through everything I gone through, and man, it's painful. You know, my legs still have not picked up strength. I can't walk, and day by day. But I do remember you. Thank you. And I also remember you encouraged me on the book, as many other things. And even though I can't type, right, because now both my hands are shaky, if I leave a heart on your message, I want everybody to know I read it. And with that heart, I send my love, my saludos, and my appreciation to your message. Anyways, getting right into it, today I want to touch a little bit more on what I've been asked numerous of times. Do camaradas go in there and you being a resident, a tagger from a party crew, do you have to go an extra mile to prove yourself, right? To maintain in the whole or the whole ramfla? And the short answer is no. No, that's a myth. There's a lot of individuals with big egos that belong to well-known neighborhoods that tend to say that, right? That tend to pump themselves up to make themselves feel much chingones than the next man. But there is no such thing as anyone having to go that extra mile to earn the same status as any other camarada. Allow me to make sense, with a little personal story about a good individual as his doings. You see, I've said it before and I'll say it again. They tend to say that a lot about us from Northern California, and it's not true. I went in the system with that chip in my shoulder. Oh, you know, that rumor spread to our county, and I went in pushing, thinking I had to always be pushing to stay relevant, right? And the first one to smack my ears back regarding was Raul. he also explained to me how there is no such thing. There might be situations where you're in a level two down south and we're the only raza there. And there's a lot of set tripping amongst homies, but also it only goes as far as a homie feeling disrespected and whacking somebody and going back to insurrect for it. And that individual set tripping will always lose. Because that, I gotta give the organization, right, the MM, that credit that there is no such thing as just because you're from LA, Orange County, you're from a neighborhood, you're from out of state, you hold more weight, more rank in our movement. That don't exist. Again, individuals tend to hold on to that to pump their own selves up. What really exists is no matter what you do on the streets, it holds no value in the system. You live your neighborhood, you live your street rep on the door, and you start off as a Southsider. Every person, you want to believe me or not, from my personal experience, for those that looked up my case as we talked before on the lives, I got double murder. One was a brother of an MFer, the other one wasn't an MFer, and it did not hold anything once I was in the system, you know. But anyways, which is good, because I'm a firm believer that if we start equal, you know, we're gonna push this thing. But I want to talk about the homie Looney, right? He was a resident. He he grew up in Orange County. I couldn't really pinpoint to you exactly where, because as far as I remember, he grew up in La Habra, Clica Los Monos for a while. His family moved to Buena Park, La Joya, Anaheim, Santana, all over Orange County, right? And the homie always leaned towards the camaradas, whichever neighborhood was near him, right? And he was accepted because, again, he didn't belong to no neighborhood. He just wanted to be a cagapalos, just like all of us, right? Which is come out, extend his bicep, party, do what he had to do, you know. In one of them times in Anaheim, kicking it with the homies from Southside Anaheim, they would have a little argument, you could say, with the homies from F Troop. In that argument, a homie from F Troop would lose his life. And Looney would end up getting caught. And I don't know if Orange County is still like that, but it's at least back when I got started in the system, Orange County was known for breaking you off, right? For doing things. So he would get life without. We didn't meet in reception. We actually met out north in Solano, where there was a few homies that were residents. Sin, he grew up in Compton, but in Bronx neighborhood. Ben grew up in West LA, but he was part of a party crew that never joined a neighborhood, you know. And the homie Looney, we would continue, you know, we would pick up Klecha from, there's a lot of good individuals, when we're in Solano, when we're in Willis in Vacaville, and we both paid attention. I remember when we were in Willis for a while, they brought back Dopey from Tortilla Flats, the Senor, and he didn't have a luz verde on him. Believe me, I checked in case I needed to whack him, right? Again, that's where my dominant mind was at. But he was to be left alone. In other words, he didn't have a hit coming, but he didn't have nothing coming no more. He was stuck in Vacaville, and there was he didn't have no say so no more. If you guys get it, it was just part of that 72 hours no stay zone that we had in Vacaville, right? But anyways, he went back there and he gave us a lot of clecha, a lot of clecha. And in my next story, I'm going to be talking well, about 4 or 5 homies from Tortilla Flats, and it will make more sense. But getting into this one of the main ones he taught us was don't be torpedoes. I had already sat down long days about this with Raul, right? Because I was always lifting my hand and always wanting to do whatever came up. But Dopey confirmed it, right? Those are no Dopey, you know, he's a homie in a wheelchair all tatted up. Top of his head, he has TF in both his hands. Where his knuckles go, he has MM. He's an older individual, that I guess in Quilmas they went through a riot. He got hit, it paralyzed him, and he was confined in Vacaville, right? And well, you guys know from when I got there, I was on the same Trujillo as him, and I seen his tats. I ran his name to see if I had to whack him, and I know it sounds like shady, scandalous on my end, but it's what we were doing, right? But that was the main lecture he gave us, right, in Willis. Because even when he went to the hole, he would come out with the homies, you know, and not to be a torpedo, also to stay away from dope. you know, and to avoid everything that had to do with debt, you know, picking up holly from someone, gambling, even trading, if you didn't have your money put together to get what you wanted, to leave it alone. Don't be that individual that goes and says, "Oh, hey, you want $50 for this? I got 40 in my cell. Let me get 10, second draw or third draw, because things always happen, and he himself has seen a lot of good camaradas fall over $5. Them type of klechas, ham and hmm, turkey from Bakersfield is also there, and he had a lot of wisdom too. When we were there, we ran Turkey's name, and he was just one of them that was allowed to be there, but wasn't allowed to function with us to the fullest. If you guys get what I'm trying to say, and it's sad, It's the first time I noticed that soldados. Yeah, it would be great, if we go out to war against any other race, or we pull a mission and we get hit by the towers and they take our lives and it's over with, right? But you guys know it don't work like that. There is those cases where you're gonna get hit, you're gonna be injured, you might be paralyzed, you might get hurt so much you're confined to a prison that has the help that you need, right? Because just to mention a few homies there that were not basura, but we're not homies either, if you get it. Conejo, I mean, Bigotes from Crazy Riders, Dopey, again from Tortilla Flats, Mugs from El Monte Flores, Turkey from Bakers, Beto from Bakers, Spider. Well, I could mention to you a whole bunch. A lot of those that are confined to that prison, that are considered no good, without hard candy. If you guys get it, it's whatever. And it's because it happened in between a melee against someone else. I mean, look at the senor. If they're willing to set a senor down, not only because of the way it happened, right? In a riot against the blacks, the Crips, and the gunner just happened to hit him in the wrong spot. But he also would mention us as it was just bigger, His neighborhood tortilla flat just makes that cheddar that makes money. Has a lot of power. There was no room for him. He could have easily been in Vacaville still pushing his line, right? But it's a medical facility. That's exactly what hasn't happened to Chino right now and Walla Pilis. Getting back to Looney, we would both get clecha. Homie didn't use at this time. I already had it set in my mind not ever to touch that. Even before I even touched CDC, since the streets, since before YA. And it's cause it's what I like moving on the streets. I seen what it does. I know where it leads. And I'm not gonna say I feel sorry for the individuals because I don't want to minimize them. But it is a sad situation that it makes you go through if you really sit down and think about it. Yes, you tend to hear all the tweakers, they're over here doing this and or whatever, right? Acid, but I don't compare to people that use Shiva. They don't want to go through the Malia and to stop themselves to go through it, and they're willing to hurt anybody, including family members. I seen some scandalous stuff, believe me. From there, we would end up parting ways. Looney would end up going to New Folsom. I would end up getting shot to Ironwood when when again they had D yard as a level 4 and C yard, and we would go down there, start doing my politic thing. And I remember, well, another homie, Looney, from Tortilla Flats, and I was being a weasel, right? You could say it like that, because I was like, hey, so you and your homies don't even get together a little care package and be like, hey, dopey, forget you were in, man. You're a homie still from the neighborhood. I te va. So you go to canteen. So you have a TV. But the problem lied in what it always lies. When you're busted doing so much time, the facts are your own neighborhood forgets about you. Yeah, they know who you are. They know your history. They would always say, oh, that's my homie. That's my older homie. That's the carnal, whatever, right? But there is no love there. Let's just be sincere. The love you have with your generation is that you ran the streets with them. You did dirt with them. So Dopey got forgotten, right? And I touch on him because, well, like I said, I got a second part of this that I think you guys will trip out. But anyways, Looney would end up meeting in Tehachapi again in in the shoe. Well, kinda right. I was to get out to the 180 VR, and I had orders to remove that mess on. In them orders, there was a lot of torpedoes already waiting for me to get out to buck up and go against the mesa, right? Like I mentioned before, just to mention a few, Shadow from Orange County, Ocho from Orange County. I mentioned Frankie a lot from Santana, right hand man of Sana. He was there too, waiting. Toro from Cherryville. And in this waiting, it was the homie, Looney. He was known as Looney from Orange County. He ain't claim a neighborhood. I heard he had gotten a position in Folsom, and I heard a lot of good things from Pilis, right, about him and camaradas, which was cool. The one thing though that I heard that I didn't like was that he like using negra. He started using black, and sometimes he was making bad decisions due to allow negra to come into the yard. And there's a lot of artists like that. That back in the days they had the llaves, and let's say something would happen, like the woods rush the homies, and it would be like a Thursday. Well, the vato de llavero would squash it, put it off, even though they would put hands on her gente just because he wanted the dope that was coming in that weekend. And it would eventually become their demise. It never went good for them. The moment everything came to flow in the back, it was get them, right? Because at least when it comes to us, no harm is more important than us maintaining the rules and regulations, at least when the shoes were there. So, anyways, I'm not gonna rehash. I got out. I snuck out before I finished my reds or committee. I got a Joker and Muero and Bam Bam and all them individuals that have been slamming the bay and felt they were level 12s and stuff, right? On all the bad doings and who it was coming from. And this was pushed, started to be pushed by Toro. But by the time I got out there, it was being completed by Tio Chino. And anyways, Joker from B&E was Chinos from Maravilla's son-in-law. That's why he felt more on his high horse, right? But I had specific orders, if he even spoke about it, to ramp through him. And that's exactly what I said. I want to go back, sit down the rest of the days till I go to committee. When I come out, if you got the same in agreement, then I'm going to ramp through you. It's that simple. So I went back and everyone, Toro, Shadow, Ocho, Frankie, they didn't want no more discussions. We were all shoe babies, so what they wanted was for me to get out and just boogie, you know, just get it going in the sense of start whacking these fools. So I will go back and sit down. And then days I was sitting down, I really was analyzing if it was time for a chip change. We were all going to get removed. The bottom line is, if we remove the mesa, they were going to tell on us. So all the main ones were going to get removed, right? Which we had it all in plan, and someone was going to stay behind and take the ropes, right? Anyways, The only one opposing to everything was Looney, because he blended in quick with getting high, and he wanted talks. And I came out, and to my surprise, Güero and Joker and them, they said, "Go ahead, homie, that's all you. Our respects." And we're supposed to move forward, right? But the same day is when they locked everything down, and they basically told on me that I had gotten out with Palabra to hit every CO on the yard. We all got rolled up. Myself, Toro, Shadow, everyone. It's a trip, and one way or another, we're all still in touch with each other. Like I say, you do build bonds, right? But getting back to Looney, dope changed him in a sense. When they snatched us up, it was what it was, right? Me, I didn't have no choice. They went in, opened up the door 3 in the morning, threw shot grenades. They would end up finding fierros, and they had kites against me specifically, right? Me being the one that was going to call everything. But Looney had that chance, and he spoke. There's a lot of fool strike snitching, straight up. And even though at one point you know him to be good, dope changes people. So, without making this too long, he would end up speaking too much with the squad, and they left him behind. Chino started hitting. He put him in the back burner up until the point that Güero, Joker, Bam Bam, all the individuals that told and removed us felt he was a threat because he was part of us at one point, and he would get politicked and removed, right? And then from there, everything else flourished up in the back. And unfortunately, it was one more camarada that dope took the career. And the reason why I'm telling this story is so that the inside in look on this is throughout the whole time. We started the same year, 1996. 2003, no, 2, we went to Hatchapee pulling this mission. Homeboy was arrested. He was there for being part of a murder on a homie from F Troop, right? He never got looked any other way but like a camarada. He got given the benefit of the doubt as a camarada. He was also running yards on the top of the list as a camarada. So the end look is, don't go off with that myth that you not belonging to a neighborhood are going to have it more rough, and you're going to have to step it up 10 times more. That's a myth. That's a lie. what ruined Looney was his habit to black. Unfortunately. And right before I leave, I do want to answer a question I read, right? Or more so a statement. I guess that one individual that used to be a carnal talks about certain stuff, my respects, it don't concern me, it don't interest me, right? There ain't nothing that individual can say that would interest me. But I guess they're trying to put, like, I don't know if it just, he touched whatever he touched on that Judas gave him about some neighborhood, and I touched on my walk on some camaradas relating that neighborhood. I want to make it real clear. I don't watch that in Weenie. I don't pay attention on what he does. I followed no rat's suit. If you're on my channel and believe that after so long, do please stay over there with him. You know, this is recent, excuse me, and just to show you how wrong you are. I only been back a couple days. Before then, I was legally dead for 5 days, being kept alive by machines, literally dead. I had machines pumping my heart, my lungs, and I'm still going through the struggles of them pulling them pipes out from inside of me. Do you think I would have time to go look at your superhero stuff? Never. I always walk my walk and speak my personal walk. And with all due respect, I don't know why you said it, but if you meant to say it like, I need that individual to tell my story, you might be a fan of his, but there ain't nothing that fool done that impresses me. Sorry to take everyone's time. Do please stop by and check out the book. I'm gonna try to talk to my boy S1, see if maybe we could throw us the second part we promised on that. The one that you guys asked me the most, but that it concerns only us, as it has only since I started this. With this said, please stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. God bless everyone.